Welcome, everyone. We are live tonight, and it is Wednesday night. And my child is doing the best he can to remain as quiet as he possibly can. He's trying to giggle with his mouth closed, But I digress. This is how it is every night. All right, every night. But I am trusting that each of you remembered your prompts. Which one of us in this space tonight was all up in Meta or Chat GPT today? Ooh, I wonder who. Yeah, that was me refining my prompting because I was like, ooh, how can I say it? What words can I use? Can I better define this situation? And every time it got real close to what I wanted, I said, ooh, that's real close. Let me refine. So I just started practicing more and more because like I've never used Chat GPT. And so it was a way for me to start really using it and really practicing my mental focus. And so mm, your girl did good. I practiced, I got the outcome I wanted, and I said, okay, let me do it now with my life. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. You just got to practice. Yeah? Anywho, I trust y'all had a good day. Hey, Cyber. Oh, look, Shea Butter. We got Flo Smiles. We got I Am That Deal. And we also have Scotch Bonnet in the house. Twitter, well, that's the replay gang. Anyhow, let us flip over to chapter 7, Moods. Moods. I'm in the mood. I'm in the mood for love. What are you in the mood for? Let's figure it out tonight from chapter 7 of The Law and the Promise. Moods. This is an age in which the mood decides the fortunes of people rather than the fortunes decide the mood. Can you say it again? Your mood decides your fortune rather than your fortune deciding the mood. Hello? You see, men regard their moods far too much as effects and not sufficiently as causes. Moods are imaginal activities without which no creation is possible. Hmm? We say that we are happy because we have achieved our goal. We do not realize that the process works equally well in the reverse direction, that we shall achieve our goals because we have assumed the happy feeling of the wish fulfilled. Moods are not only the result of the conditions of our life, they are also the causes of those conditions. In the psychology of emotions, Professor Ribot writes, an idea which is only an idea produces nothing and does nothing. It only acts if it is felt, if it is accompanied by an effective state, if it awakens tendencies, well, that is to say, motor elements. Let me slide in here and put it into perspective for you. An idea, which is only an idea, produces nothing and does nothing. But you see, if it is felt, it awakens the tendencies to move, to do something. So the next time you feel yourself in the mood, what are you in the mood for? I'm in the mood for key lime pie. I'm in the mood for chocolate cake. I'm in the mood for love. If you feel the mood, you will get up and you will do it. Hmm? Don't take my word for it. Watch yourself and you will see. You will see that the mood that you feel, that is what you will get up and do. Mm. I will wait for you to slide into my DMs and tell me. Not that I want to be right. It has nothing to do with being right. It has to do with, do you recognize it for yourself? I digress. Let us carry on. The lady in the following story so successfully felt the feeling of her wish fulfilled. Ooh, she made her mood the character of the night. frozen in a delightful dream. Listen, most of us read and love fairy stories, but we all know that stories of improbable riches and good fortune are for the delight of the very young. But are they? I want to tell you of something unbelievably wonderful that happened to me through the power of my imagination, and I am not young in years. We live in an age which believes in neither fable nor magic. And yet, everything I could possibly want in my wildest daydreams was given to me by the simple use of what you teach, that imagining creates reality. And that feeling is the secret of imagining. At the time this wonderful thing happened to me, I was out of a job and I had no family to fall back upon for support. I needed just about everything. Listen up tonight if this is you. I needed just about everything to find a decent job. I needed a car to look for it. And though I had a car, it was so worn out, it was ready to fall apart. Oh, I was behind in my rent. I had no proper clothes to seek a job. And today, it's no fun for a woman of 55 to apply for a job of any kind. My bank account was almost depleted, and there was no friend to whom I could turn. But I had been attending your lectures for almost a year, and my desperation forced me to put my imagination to the test. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. The fuel of desperation. We're going to talk about it tomorrow so you understand how to use desperation instead of having desperation use you. I digress. She said, it was my desperation that forced me to put my imagination to the test. Indeed, I had nothing to lose. If you listen to her story previously, she had nothing. It was natural for me, I suppose, to begin by imagining myself having everything I needed. But I needed so many things and in such short order that I found myself exhausted when I finally got through the list. And by that time, I was so nervous I couldn't sleep. Oh my. One lecture night, I heard you tell of an artist who captured the feeling, or word as you called it, of isn't it wonderful? He captured this feeling of isn't it wonderful in his personal experience. Now, I began to apply this idea to my case. Instead of thinking of and imagining every article I needed, I tried to capture the feeling that something wonderful was happening to me, not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. I would say over and over to myself as I fell asleep, isn't it wonderful? Something marvelous is happening to me now. And as I fell asleep, I would feel the way I would expect to feel under such circumstances. I repeated that imaginary action and feeling for 2 months, night after night. And one day, in early October, I met a casual friend I hadn't seen for months who informed me he was about to leave on a trip to New York. Well, I had lived in New York many years ago, and we talked of the city a few moments and then parted. And I completely forgot the incident. 1 month later, to the day, this man called at my apartment and simply handed me a certified check in my name. Wait for it. For $2,500. Now, after I got over the initial shock of seeing my name on a check for so much money, the story that unfolded seemed to me like a dream. It concerned a friend I had not seen nor heard from in more than 25 years. This friend of my past, I now learned, had become extremely wealthy in those 25 years. And our mutual acquaintance who had brought the check to me had met him quite by accident during the trip to New York last month. During their conversation, they spoke of me. And for reasons I was not to know, for this day I have not heard from him personally and have never attempted to contact him. This old friend decided to share a portion of his great wealth with me. For the next 2 years, from the office of his attorney, I received monthly checks so generous in amount, they not only covered every necessary requirement of daily living, but left much over for all the lovely things of life: a car, clothes, a spacious apartment, and best of all, no need to earn my daily bread. This past month, I received a letter and some legal papers to be signed, which provide the continuation of this monthly income for the rest of my natural life. And this letter was submitted by TK. Hmm. If the fool would persist in his folly, he would become wise. Think about that. You see, Sir Winston calls on us to act on the assumption that we already possess that which we sought, to assume a virtue if we have it not. Is this not the secret of miracles? Thus, the man with palsy was told to rise, to take up his bed and walk, to mentally act as if he were healed. And when the actions of his imagination corresponded, hello, what's that word? Corresponded? Listen, when the actions of his imagination corresponded with the actions which he would physically perform were he healed, he was healed. That's the principle of correspondence, as within, so without. Now, this is a story about which some may say it would have happened anyway, but those who read it carefully will find room to wonder. It begins 1 year ago as I left Los Angeles to visit my daughter in San Francisco. Instead of the happy natured individual she had always been, I found her in deep distress. Not knowing the cause of her anguish and not wishing to ask, well, I waited until she told me that she was in great financial trouble and must have $3,000 immediately. Now, I am not a poor woman, but I didn't have much cash I could put my hands on that quickly. Knowing my daughter, I knew she would not have accepted it anyway. I offered to borrow the money for her, but she refused and instead asked me to help her in my way. She meant using my imagination. For I had often told her of your teaching, and some of my words must have struck home. Now, I immediately agreed on this plan with the provision that she would help me help her. We decided on an imaginal scene we could both practice that involved seeing money coming to her from everywhere. We felt money was flooding toward her from every corner until she was in the middle of a sea of money. But we did this always with the feeling of joy. Joy. Yeah? We did it with the feeling of joy for anyone concerned. And we had no thought of means, only happiness of all, or happiness for all. Now, the idea seemed to catch fire with her, and I know she was responsible for what happened a few days later. She was certainly transformed back to the happy, confident mood that was natural to her, though there was no evidence of any real money coming in at that time. I left to return home in the East. When I arrived home, I called my mother, a lovely young lady of 91, who immediately asked me to come and see her. Now, I wanted a day's rest, but she couldn't wait. It had to be now. Of course, I went. And after greeting me, she handed me a check for $3,000 made out to my daughter. Wait, what now? Before I could speak, she handed me three additional checks totaling $1,500 made in favor of my daughter's children. Her reason? She explained that she had suddenly decided the day before to give what she had in cash to those she loves while she was still here to know of their happiness in receiving it. It would have happened anyway? No, well, not like this. Not within days of my daughter's frantic need and then her sudden transformation to a mood of joy. I know that her imaginal act caused this wonderful change, bringing not only great joy to the receiver, but to the giver as well. P.S. I almost forgot to add that among the checks so lavishly given was one from me too for $3,000. And this letter was submitted by M.B. The boundless opportunities opened by recognizing the shift of the focus of imagining is beyond measure. There are no boundaries. The drama of life is an imaginal activity in which we bring to pass by our moods rather than by our physical acts. Moods so ably guide all towards that which they affirm. They may be said to create the circumstances of life and dictate the events. The mood of the wish fulfilled is the high tide which lifts us easily off the bar of the senses where we usually lie stranded. Oh, hear how poetic he waxes. He says, the mood of the wish fulfilled is the high tide, which lifts us easily off the bar of the senses where we usually lie stranded. If we are aware of the mood and know this secret of imagining, well, we may announce that all that our mood affirms will come to pass. The following story is by a mother who succeeded in sustaining a seemingly playful mood with startling results. Well, surely you've heard the old wives' tale about warts, that if a wart is bought, it will disappear. I've known this story from childhood, but not until I heard your lectures did I realize the truth hidden in the old tale. You see, my boy, a lad of 10, had many large, ugly warts on his legs, causing an irritation which had plagued him for years. I decided that my sudden insight could be used to his advantage. A boy has a lot of faith in his mother as a rule. So I asked him if he would like to be rid of his warts, and he quickly said, well, yes, but he did not want to go to a doctor. I asked him to play a little game with me, that I would pay him a sum of money for each wart. Now, this suited him fine. And he said he didn't see how he could lose. We arrived at a fair price, he thought. And then I said, now I'm paying you good money for those warts. They no longer belong to you. You never keep property belonging to someone else, so you can no longer keep those warts. Mm, They will disappear. It may take a day, 2 days, or a month, but remember that I've bought them and they belong to me. My son was delighted with our game, and the results sound like something read in an old musty book on magic. But believe me, within 10 days the warts began to fade. And at the end of 1 month, every wart on his body had completely disappeared. Now, there's a sequel to this story, for I've bought warts from many people. They too thought it great fun and accepted my 5, 7, or 10 cents a wart. In each case, the wart disappeared. But really, only one person believes me when I tell him his imagination alone took away the warts. And that one person is my young son. Signed by J.R. Isn't that something? You see, man imagining himself into a mood takes on himself the results of the mood. If he does not imagine himself into the mood, well, he is ever free of the result. Eh? So if you do not imagine yourself in the mood, well, then you can't get the results. Okay? The mood determines the results. Mm. The great Irish mystic A.E. wrote in The Candle of Vision. He says, I became aware of a swift echo or response to my own moods in circumstance which had seemed hitherto immutable in its indifference. I could prophesy from the uprising of new moods in myself that I without search would soon meet people of a certain character, and so I met them. Even inanimate things were under the sway of these affinities. But man need not wait for the uprising of new moods in himself. He can create happy moods at will. That's it. That's chapter 7. So the candle of vision. Listen to what he said. I became aware of a swift echo or response to my own moods in circumstance which had seemed hitherto immutable in its indifference. What's that mean? It means the circumstances appeared, okay? Because he felt the echo or the response in his mood in the circumstance which seemed immutable, meaning the circumstance seemed like it would never change. The circumstance seemed indifferent. But he said he felt it, and he could prophesy from the uprising of new moods in himself that without search, without search, he would soon meet people of a certain character. He didn't have to go looking for them because his mood that rose up in his bosom sent the call out, which echoed back to him. Thereby, the scripture comes to life. A man's gifts make room for him and brings him before great men. That right there is what that scripture means. Without search. You don't have to go looking. You just need, what does he say? But man need not wait for the uprising of new moods in himself. You don't have to wait for the mood to arise. You can create the mood. You see, that's the difference between being the imaginative man and living by way of the senses. If you live by way of the senses, you have to wait for your eyes to arouse you. You have to wait for your ear to arouse you. You have to wait for what you taste to arouse you. Your senses. But if you are the imaginative man, you need not rely on sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. No. You can stimulate the mood within yourself. You can become self aroused versus sense aroused. And aroused just means stirred up, turned on to whatever that thing is you want to experience. So you don't have to wait for it, you can do it yourself. Hmm. Don't let me. I said it without saying it. You don't have to wait for it. You can do it yourself. If you are grown, you're picking up what I'm laying down, which tells you that you and I have the ability, the capacity to stir up within ourselves that which we want to feel at will. You do not have to wait. This is why scripture can tell you the fields are white with harvest. You don't have to wait 4 months. That's exactly what it means. It means you can stir up within yourself that mood and bring about the effect of the mood. Because what did we read in the very beginning of chapter 7? Hmm? What did we read in the very beginning of chapter 7? I'm scrolling all the way back so we can read it to you again verbatim. Men regard their moods far too much as effects and not sufficiently as causes. So your mood, my dearest, is not an effect. No, darling. Your mood is not an effect. Your mood is the cause. So think about what he said at the beginning of the book, the chapter, and hear what he said at the end of the chapter. So you can regard your mood as the cause. Thereby, what now? You don't have to rely on the senses to generate your mood. You can generate your mood on your own. Scripture says you can become self persuaded. You can become self persuaded. And do we not become self persuaded day in and day out? Of course. We become self persuaded all the time. So, as we slide into the silence ever so gently, make it your business. You've heard many a letter tonight. There were some with money, there were some with health. And she didn't just need money, she needed a job, she needed a car. Listen, whew, she needed to pay her rent, she needed to do a whole host of things. And she said by the time she was done, she was exhausted. But she remembered what she heard in the lecture. She heard in the lecture, well, isn't it wonderful? Now, she caught the feeling of everything being accomplished. If everything, rent, clothes, food, job, if all those things you had without a worry in the world, well, wouldn't that be wonderful? Wouldn't that feel so good to you? Wouldn't that bring you a sense of relief? Now, here's the thing, you don't have to wait for the sense of relief. You, just like she said when she asked herself, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful that all my needs are met? This is what she said. Isn't it wonderful that all my needs are met? And she felt the truth of it. She felt the reality of it. So she didn't just lay there and say to herself, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? She did not lay there and do that all night long till she fell asleep. No, 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 no. When she said it, she felt the corresponding emotion with it because she believed it. But here's the thing, we're going to talk about this tomorrow. But the thing that she felt, the desperation, not the desperation that she did not have, but the desperation to test it, because what did she have to lose? Those are her words. What did I have to lose? She said. She already had nothing, so she had nothing to lose. So it was her desperation that allowed her to test. Isn't it wonderful? So you see, your words nor your affirmations cannot be idle. You can't just sit there and say, I'm rich, I'm rich. Or you can do it like Dave Chappelle, I'm rich, bitch. You can't, no, you just do not sit there and say those words. If you do not feel the truth of those words, well, then you labor in vain. How do you feel the truth of the words? Well, look at where you are in life right now. And you say to yourself, well, I could spend all day for the next week complaining. And I know exactly what's going to happen to me. I am not going to accomplish anything. But what if I spent the next week, what if I spent the next week in eager anticipation? Because I know if I bitch and moan and complain, I know how that's going to turn out. But if I know how that's going to turn out, what if I spend that time in eager anticipation saying to myself, ooh, wouldn't it be wonderful? Yes, it would be. What if I did that for the next week? I wonder how my life would change. Because I know if I keep doing this, it'll stay the same. Hmm. Well, let me see if I can remain focused. And every time I'm tempted to complain, oh, let me refocus myself and do what? Get the mood. What if you did that? What if I did that? Oh, we would change our lives, wouldn't we? Now you understand what I'm saying to you. So when you go to bed tonight, we start by sliding into the silence for 5 minutes. When you slide into the silence for 5 minutes, how excited are you to see if it works? Let that be your driving force. Is this thing possible? I already know that I was thinking about somebody and they called me. Well, it could have happened anyway. It could have just been a coincidence. But allegedly, a coincidence is the external experience that matches my internal mood. So let me select my mood like I'm at a jukebox and I got me a quarter. And I'm going to slide this quarter into the jukebox and I'm going to select the song I want to dance to. Listen, when you select the song you want to dance to, are you not choosing your mood? I mean, I'm just asking for a friend. Yes, you are. So tonight, select the mood. Remember, you don't have to wait for the mood to come upon you. Now you can turn that mood off and on at will. Ow, hello. You can turn that mood on and off at will. So you see those 5 minutes? Practice turning the mood on and seeing how long you can keep it on. Oh. And every time your mind wants to wander and say to you, you crazy, she crazy, all y'all are crazy, this is never gonna work. When that happens, gently remind yourself, I won't know till I try it. You can call me crazy all you want, but I won't know. I would like the opportunity to say to myself that I am crazy. And the only way for me to know is if I test this to see if it's real or not. So hush. That's what you tell it. And you redirect yourself to feeling that mood. Now, let us slide into the silence for 5 minutes. And there concludes our 5 minutes of silence and practice. So tonight, my beautiful friends, as you take yourselves off to bed, remember what you know and apply it, even though you might be scared, even though you might be worried, even though you might be freaking out. It's all right. What do you know? Put your attention there on what you know, and everything will fall into place for you, because that is our design. That is how it is meant to be. Not because I say it falls into place. I'm telling you it falls into place once you turn and you look at it. Just acknowledge where you are. Yes? Anywho, anywho. Mm, I do love you, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good night, Miss Sherry. I am that deal, Queen Mo Jabbar. Flo Smiles, KZ, ow, Shea Butter, Cyber. Oh, Glenn, is that? I think it is Glenn, but I don't quite see it. And then Danny, thank you all for being here on this glorious evening. I love you, and I will see you on the morrow, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Fanbase. Ow. Good night. Twitter is closed.